Hi, I'm Jack from GatelyAcademy, and in this video we talk about Title V, Septic, or sometimes known as private sewage. So when do you have to get this thing inspected? And in this video we're talking about a perspective of a single family home. There are some larger commercial systems or neighborhood systems or condo systems. No, today we're talking about single family home. So it's pretty straightforward. You have to have it inspected and have it pass with no more than 2 years before the sale. There's actually a possible extension, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video, that could be up to 6 months delay on that, but typically it's within 2 years before the sale. You also might need it inspected if you change the use or the footprint of the property, or you combine the property or divide the property. So any type of occupancy change or use, you're going to need a septic system inspection. You can also be required through the Department of Environmental Protection. They might order a inspection, or the local Board of Health at your local city or town can also order an inspection. Okay, so when don't you need it? Well, you don't need a passing Title V if you're selling your property to your immediate family member, like a sibling, or from parents to children, or between spouse to spouse. You don't need it. You also don't need it for a similar type of trust, when an immediate family member is going to be the beneficiary of that trust. You don't need it when you mortgage your property or you refinance it. And you don't need it when you could be connecting to a public or shared system, I should actually add here, within the next 2 years, and you actually have a written agreement to connect to the public or shared system within the next 2 years. I did mention the situation where you could possibly get a 6-month extension. That is for weather. So of course in Massachusetts, we don't always have the most ideal weather to test for septic system, and if it's 3 feet of snow or whatever, you can't get it done, obviously. So you could get an exception, or an extension I should say, and you would not necessarily need the passing at closing. Otherwise, and the vast majority of time, you are going to need a passing Title V at the closing if you're selling a single family home. Now, as an agent, what should your first steps be? And my recommendation is that you head down to the Board of Health at your local city or town, and you get a copy of the existing septic system report. So the Board of Health is going to be the custodian for that, and highly likely they can get a copy there for like $20. You could also just check your seller to see if they already have one. That would be a handy thing to do, and see what the date is on it, because it cannot be more than 2 years old from the date of closing. That's very, very important. I would say that there is an extension that you can get to that. It can actually be 3 years old if you have records that you've pumped every year. So if you have those records, you can actually extend this 2-year period to 3 years, but only if the seller has the records. My strong recommendation is to go down to the Board of Health, because you want to double check the capacity of the system. This is my last point in this particular video. You want to double check the capacity of this system for your listing. You don't want to take the word of the seller. If the seller says it's a 5-bedroom capacity system, how do you really know? I mean, you don't want to open the lid and look inside, right? So the best way to protect yourself against what some might call your failure of due diligence would be, or reasonable care, would be to go down to the Board of Health, and if you don't want to actually buy the $20 report, you could just ask them, hey, what is the current system at that property rated for? How many bedrooms is the typical question? And you want whatever the Board of Health says. Your listing should not exceed what the Board of Health says. No matter whether visually it looks like it has 5 bedrooms, if the Board of Health says that it's a 3-bedroom septic system, then your listing should list the property at 3 bedrooms, and list those other rooms as an office or whatever, but don't list them as bedrooms. You want the bedroom count to comply with the Board of Health capacity for the septic system.